Okay guys, so today talk about stress. I've referenced it a couple of times in a couple of articles, but in particular we're going to focus on this idea of a lion versus a deadline, right? So we're going to really oversimplify things here and say, the body's goal at the end of the day is survival. It's going to do whatever it needs to do, whatever it can to help us survive and live to see another day, right? So keep that in mind as we move forward. Back in the day, this guy named Hans Selye, I'm pretty sure the pronunciation is correct on that, found and came up with this idea that a pattern of stress response is going to be similar regardless of the stressor. Which brings us here to this idea of a lion versus a dead lion, right? So if you're just roaming the Serengeti and a lion pops out from behind a tree, right, you're going to go into a stress response to help you run away. This is a good thing. In your mind, that probably seems different than a dead lion, but to your body, and what Hans found is that it isn't. Right, we're going to have pretty much a similar stress response regardless of the type of stressor. Which brings us to the next point is, a lot of us sit around over here kind of hanging out worrying about these deadlines, and it's going to have a long-term negative effect on the body, right? So let's think about it like a bank account. So if we're not stressed, we're parasympathetic, we can rest and digest, right? We're going to be able to make deposits into the bank account. The body's going to handle it, we're going to rest, we're going to recover, we're going to be, all is good. But what happens when we have a stressor, which is, stress isn't inherently bad, it's just a type of stress, and when we have it, we're going to make withdrawals out of the bank account to provide our body with the energy it needs to be able to perform the action at hand, whether that's, deadlifting, running, sprinting, getting away from a bear, right? It all depends. But the same thing happens over here. We stress about a deadline, and we start making withdrawals from the bank account because our body's going to respond in a similar way simply because we're dealing with stress, right? And over the long haul, it's going to have a negative impact on the body because as we're doing this, the body's going to shut down other things like digestion of food, production of sex hormones, etc., because it is worried about survival. Okay, and that's just a real quick overview, guys, of stress and kind of some things that are going to happen if you're chronically stressed all the time. I highly recommend picking up Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Dr. Sapolsky. Great read. It's going to go into way more detail on this, but I just want to give you a quick overview you can kind of run and play with.